You know, I've only ever voted for president once, and that's mainly because I've never seen voting as being a way of making actual change. You can't really change the system from the inside because the system isn't set up to change itself. It's established. That's why it's called the establishment. But along with that is the fact that the only people who ever get put up in front of us are the people who pass the muster of getting enough donations that they can be there in the first place, meaning the pool from which we as the people get to vote is toxic from the offset. The only people we can vote for have dead hamsters in their skull or can receive a check. But, people say if you don't vote, then you have no right to complain. But I've always liked George Carlin's response to that of, if you vote and you elect dishonest, incompetent people and they get into office and screw everything up, you are responsible for what they have done because you caused the problem by voting them in and you have no right to complain, while I, on the other hand, who did not vote, am in no way responsible for what these people have done and have every right to complain as loudly as I want about the mess that you created that I had nothing to do with. But on thinking about that more deeply, I've noticed some problems, mainly being that you are negating your own importance as a voter because you aren't voting. So, sure, you can complain, but it doesn't change the fact that you're being completely ineffectual as a voter, at least. Those of us who are cynical about the effectiveness of voting by not voting are creating a self-fulfilling prophecy that voting won't be effective. By not voting, we only reinforce that which we hate, which is that votes are not as important as money. The system is going to be there whether you vote in it or not, and so you can't pretend that your inaction is not in and of itself a choice of action. There's no reason to not have your voice heard through the system while also trying to change the system from the outside. And with that in mind, of course, voting isn't the only thing you can or should do. You can work from outside the system, organizing with people, making petitions, and work inside the system by actually calling your local representatives, or so-called representatives. Votes are still the ultimate power despite the fact of how much money has influence. And even if you don't agree that the vote has primacy of power over money, you can't deny that it is still a powerful tool that we as the people can wield. Money does not negate the power of the vote in the system. And so, as much as we may need to limit the amount of influence that money does have in the system, I implore you to not make yourself ineffectual as a member of the society, as a citizen of this country, and as a member of this democracy. Just wish that I had come to this realization and made this video prior to the previous election for president, but I hope that you keep this in mind for the upcoming primaries, and local elections, for your local ballot initiatives, and just in general as time goes on, if you are politically minded. I implore you to not unwittingly contribute to your own voice being less important. Long days and pleasant nights.